Today we're going to talk about the Razer Flap Pad, the reasons why we would use a flat pad, or the reasons why I use one or go to it. Is a lot of horses that will have a heel type pain, whether it be an onset or a chronic pain. It's a pain in either medial lateral heel in the back part of the foot, and you can't seem to isolate it. You've tried a bar shoe, you've tried a full pore pad, nothing seems to work. This is my go-to on that type of horse, no matter what discipline or what breed. That secret heel pain, whether it's unilateral or bilateral, that you can't figure out. So what I have here is I have a number 3 care cart DF quarter clipped. I've already marked the clips, notched them. You can do that with however you prefer, either your nail nippers or your hoof clippers or bandsaw grinder. And what we want to do with this pad or any flat pad is we want to cut this exactly straight across with the pad, because we want that shoe to fit right up and bump up next to that angle. We want a 90-degree angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat a small piece of steel, and I'm going to take that little round edge and square it straight so that it will match the shoe cut that I'm going to put on. That way we have less bend in the material. If a horse hooks that heel and pulls it down, it won't bend as far if we have a perfect mate in that area. Alright, what I'm going to do is I just have a piece of 3/8 by 3/4, which is straight cut. I'm going to heat it to a dull heat. I just have one burner on in the forge. And all I'll do is bring that out and I'll put it right up to that little round section, that cross section, so that we can get a perfect 90-degree fit with the shoe into that pad. Alright, I've got my bar stock. It's at a dull heat. One thing you want to do is you want to push down on this pad to make it flat. And then we're just going to run this barely across so that it just barely melts. And I'm pushing it into it slightly. Pull it back over here this side, push it flat, and just run this across. So all we're doing is taking and squaring up that little hole, or that little lip at the bottom. That's it. And this is at a dull heat. Ready? Mm-hmm. Alright, we're going to talk about fitting this to that area now. Notice I've got the clips up in front of the anvil rather than sitting on the anvil. I want the clips to drop down so that this is down. I want to bump it back to fit my clips that I've cut out. Then I'm going to lay this across from heel to heel. From this cut here to this cut in here. I've got a silver marking pencil. I'm going to simply mark that right there, but I'm going to cut on the front side of this. I still want to see a little bit of this mark after I cut the shoe.
Okay.
Now I'm cutting with a bandsaw, and if I cut with a bandsaw, these clips are going to be in the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this mark, lay my measure on here. I'm going to draw a line here. Same on the other side, so that I can keep this shoe flat on the bandsaw when I'm cutting it. Now I can connect this dot with this dot. That dot there with this dot. Now I can keep the shoe flat and cut it so that it still matches there perfectly. So what we have here with this DF quarter clipped, number 3 is we have a difference in thickness of the material, the shoe and the pad. So I'm going to grind this down, put a slight bevel on it to make it match this pad. Alright, we've got everything cut to where we want it. We've got our shoe ground. This shoe has clips on it, so we can't put it here to mark it for our rivet hole. So I'm going to turn the shoe sideways, make sure it's mated up to the pad here, pull it over here, take my center punch and mark that side, then move it over here so that we have the anvil underneath of the shoe, and we'll mark it for a clip there. We have it fit, we have it cut, we have the shoe that's ground to match the pad, we have it marked to drill for a 9/64 copper slating nail. So we drilled both of these holes 9/64. On the opposite side, you'll always have a bit of a burr. So you want to take that burr off with either a file or a grinder so that it doesn't keep your pad from mating flat with your shoe. Alright, we've got it fit, we've got it drilled. We've got it on the pad. Now we're going to put the pad and the shoe on the drill press and drill our first hole. I personally drill the offside first, and I do these one at a time. Don't be afraid to run your drill bit down through the pad several times to make it easier to get your rivet through. It's a good strong material. Now the reason why I do that is I want to make sure that this shoe stays up flat against this pad. I want this 90 to lock this pad in so that it doesn't bend this way any more than it would. Now I'll come over here, push this side up and drill this side. These copper slating nails are perfect for this. Even though I ran that drill bit through there 3 or 4 times, it's still pretty snug to get through. And you want to tighten these, you want to drive that rivet in, all the way in, before you cut it. Cut the rivet off, but we don't want that much rivet head sticking up. I'm going to lay my cutters flat on the shoe, then I'm going to lift it up a little bit to leave a little bit of head on there. Not much, not 1/8 of an inch. I only like about a 1/16. You barely grab it, then you square your jaws up. You hit it again. Now you want to make sure your shoe is flat before you do this rivet. And I use the round side. It doesn't take that much. This rivet, even though it's copper, will still stay pronounced. When the shoe wears, that copper rivet will still be showing. Alright, we've got it riveted. We're nice and square across here. We've got our bevel here where we want it. Now I'm just going to grind this off to fit the shoe, and the shoe fits the foot. And then I'll explain how this pad actually has a success for me. just a bit of a roll on here. It's not much, but it's just enough to let the horse break over a little bit, and if it touches itself or overreaches, it's not going to cause an injury. And my theory why this works so much better, when you have your cuts right and they're flush up against that, if the horse overreaches and happens to hit that pad, that's as far as it's going to go. Whereas if there's a big gap here, it would be able to pull up even higher. But that mating right there is the secret to making these flat pads work.